May. What do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
Satisfying work as soon as possible. In other words, when the pressure of desiring more good is upon you, when dissatisfaction with your present way of life assails you, or when the pressure of financial strain disturbs you, it is then that you are feeling the actual pressure of your talents and abilities, which are straining to express or press forth through richer decrees of success and prosperity. Your perfect attitudes towards work. Concerning how to discipline or perfect your attitudes and reactions, here are a few suggestions. Your entire outlook may be wrong. Like that unfortunate secretary, you may resent everything and thereby poison yourself with the thought of bitter injustice. Folks who are still at the bottom of the success ladder can usually explain how others have kept them from succeeding. They often go into detail about things that happened years ago, which they still claim are the cause of their troubles. James Allen has written that a man only begins to be a man when he ceases to whine and revel and commences to search for the hidden justice which regulates his life. In like manner, you may be going around in a negative rut because you do not make it sufficient mental effort to be free of it or rise above it. At such times you can declare often, "All that which the Father has given me now comes to me." Remind yourself that there is a divine plan for every life. A plan that will make man healthier, happier, and more successful than he has ever been. Know that your present experiences can lead you into the divine plan, and then open the door by declaring often, "The divine plan of my life now unfolds, step by step. I happily recognize each phase of it, accept it in my present and future, and let it show me how to make the most of my life." Concerning your present experiences, it is good to affirm the words of the psalmist, "I delight to do thy will, O my God." You can know that God's will for you is supreme good in your present and in your future. What are you doing about dissatisfaction? If you are not satisfied with your present lot, what are you doing to prepare yourself for better circumstances? Do you have a concrete goal in mind? Are you willing to spend your leisure time taking night courses or attending special lectures or reading particular books or engaging in constructive activities that would prepare you for greater success? Most folks aren't. Are you the exception? Instead of doing these things, many people prefer to spend their leisure hours speaking in critical terms of their work, their associates, the boss, and the world in general. They believe that by tearing down the other fellow, their own failures and dissatisfaction won't show quite so much. When you find yourself tempted to do likewise, change your thinking. To help do that, affirm, "Neither do I condemn thee. The divine law of justice and freedom is at work for all, in all, through all, and I rejoice in this. Nobody or no set of circumstances can keep my God-given good from me, and I rejoice in this knowledge." A secretary whose boss has a political job recently described the injustice she faced in her office. Another employee with much less seniority was given an assignment with regard to the boss's campaign work, which this secretary felt that she alone was entitled to do. It was interesting, exciting work, whereas her own duties were heavier and more technical. When she began using the above prayer statements to recondition her attitudes from condemnation and injustice to freedom and divine justice, the whole picture changed. The other worker was transferred out of the office, and this secretary then gained the seniority and job which she felt were hers. In another instance, a woman who was working part-time told all of the injustices that were evident in her life. Her health was not good, she felt burdened with her mother who did not trust her and who even steamed open her mail. She was dissatisfied with her work, but she felt she was not qualified for anything better. She was in debt. She had property she had been unable to rent and one piece of real estate she had not been able to sell. This woman was a spinster who felt that it was unjust that she had never married. Every phase of her life was beclouded by her attitude of bitter injustice. As she began to declare divine justice, freedom, and satisfaction for all phases of her world, her whole way of life improved remarkably. She came to realize she had been her own worst enemy through her limited ideas. Direct your energies toward a goal. When your energies are constructively directed to a specific end, non-essentials have a way of falling aside. Petty thoughts, useless relationships, ill tempers, destructive emotions that often result in ill health, discouragement, and failure need find no place in your life when you begin thinking of how you want your life to really be. Things cannot improve in an outer way until things change in an inner way, because the inner processes of the mind control all the outer experiences of our lives. If you are in the midst of an apparent failure, financial difficulties, or restlessness and dissatisfaction with your work, none of these conditions need prevent you from entertaining ideas of abundance, plans for riches, and mental images of the success which you seek. Nothing can stop you from moving toward your goals mentally as you ask divine intelligence what next steps you are to take to bring forth your desires. We live in a sea of energy and intelligence, according to the scientists, and we have constant access to its benefits, if we ask for them. Your ships come in only after you have sent them out. There is an answer. Many folks suffer along in the midst of confusion and dissatisfaction because they do not realize that this is a friendly universe, filled with supreme intelligence that will lovingly answer their call for guidance if they only ask for it. Concerning your present work and how to improve it, you should seek wisdom. Divine intelligence. What positive, constructive, creative thought, attitude, or action is my next step to improve my present work? What is the next step into the abundance, satisfaction, and freedom that is mine by divine right? A seeking mind is a healthy mind that gets answers to its inquiries which lead to healthy, progressive, satisfying results. It is much easier to entertain and work with rich, expanded ideas and to experience vital, valuable results than it is to compromise with failure by dwelling upon small ideas and expectations. Recently, an engineer explained to me how thinking big and expecting big results had helped him to find that his work was truly divine, sublime, and most satisfying, as well as financially remunerative. In the past, he had been assigned to much smaller engineering jobs, but when through the application of prosperous thinking, his really big dream job came along, he was ready to handle it. He had prepared for it mentally and emotionally for a long time, and so it did not startle or unbalance him. The method which this man had used to get out of a job that no longer satisfied him and to be able to handle the really big dream job was this. He bought a little black book and began putting into it the biggest, richest, most successful ideas and statements he could find. This helped expand his thinking and helped him remain peaceful, poised, and inspired in the face of job satisfaction. It was thereafter that the biggest job of his life opened to him. For instance, he began his day by opening his little black book and meditating on these ideas he found there. This is God's day, a good day. I pronounce this day and all of its activities good. As he thought of the various activities of the day, he affirmed, my own right and perfect work awaits me this day. For the long-range work picture, he often affirmed, I demonstrate my right work now. For new ideas in handling various work problems, he affirmed, I am now open and receptive to the rich divine ideas that now perfectly inaugurate and sustain my business affairs. When discouragement or some upsetting experience arose, he affirmed, nothing can defeat me. I give thanks for the perfect, immediate right results. I rejoice that I am now successful in all my ways. When the feeling of pressure or uncertainty tried to appear, he affirmed, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. My accomplishments are many. I am divinely equipped to accomplish great things with ease. For business conferences, he affirmed, I pronounce this business conference and everything connected with it good. Satisfying results quickly appear. At the end of the day, instead of rehashing its events, he affirmed, this is a time of satisfying completion. I lose and let go this day. The divine intelligence establishes only good from it. All else fades away. For a night of rest and in preparation for a successful tomorrow, he affirmed, as I lie down to peaceful sleep, I thank God for my successful day. I rest easily, knowing that divine intelligence is renewing my mind and body and preparing me for an even more successful day tomorrow. Your real work lies before you. You can know that your real work lies in a straight line before you. A new opportunity will open whenever you have gained all the discipline and knowledge that the old work has to offer you. Meanwhile, remind yourself that there is no work that is high or low, so long as it is essential to the welfare of anyone. So perform it as efficiently as you can, as long as you are active in it. When asking for guidance while holding expanded ideas, it helps to face your present experiences, reminding yourself, this too shall pass. You should endeavor to live normally in the midst of present job dissatisfaction, at the same time making the most of your present work. This helps you to remain steady in working toward greater good. Of course, everyone who tries to be true to the highest, especially in his work, has periods of intense discouragement. There is no disgrace in becoming discouraged. It is disgraceful to let discouragement overwhelm you, possess you, and rob your mind of its wonderful visions of success which you are striving toward. In the face of discouragement, your function is to concentrate on your higher ideals of more satisfying work, and then to declare a divine solution for the experiences of the moment. James Allen explains, your circumstances may be uncongenial, but they shall not long remain, so if you perceive an ideal and strive to reach it. You cannot travel within and stand still without. When you seem downcast, it is helpful to remember that it is darkest just before the dawn of new good. Despair is usually an emotion indication that the tide is turning and that the dawn is coming sooner than you think. As you continue to travel within, the without will take care of itself. If necessary, use the mental law of reversal on the situation. Someone had said that in the mental realm, thought can conceive of opposites and produce them more easily than thought can accept a gradual degree of good and produce it. A radical change of view often clears the mind of cluttered, limited ideas so that the mental swing to the opposite can produce an opposite result quickly. Dare to be a spiritual architect and to build pictures of larger good. Dare to enjoy these pictures of increased good mentally as you go about your daily tasks. Feel and visualize success right in the midst of dissatisfaction. Dare to affirm rich, unlimited success for yourself, no matter what is happening to you or around you at the moment. Declare, this or something better, Father, thy supreme good will be done. Expect changes for the better. Then remind yourself that you do not make things better by fighting present unhappy working conditions. You do not make things better by blaming others for your disappointments and failure experiences. Take a non-resistant attitude towards present conditions. See that they are already changing for the better. When things appear at a standstill, remember the principle of physics, which states that the entire universe is in constant motion, that we live, move, and have in our being an ocean of motion, though with our 5 outer senses we do not fully realize it. Nothing stands still. Everything is constantly changing, whether it seems to be or not. If you expect such changes to be for the better, they will surely come. In periods when you know changes are working but are not yet apparent, don't be misled by fear thoughts which try to convince you that your higher ideas are too good to be true, too wonderful to happen, or too good to last. When fear or doubt arise, put your best foot forward and do something definite to affect the successful feeling and the successful look, so as to convince not only yourself but others that you are succeeding. One who conquers doubt and fear conquers failure. It helps tremendously for others to think that you are succeeding, whether your success seems evident to you at the moment or not. You reap the real benefits of others' thoughts and expectancies for your success. Coupled with your own, they can expedite the results of success in your life. The saturation technique. Saturate yourself in atmospheres of plenty and in associations with successful people. When trying to convince yourself that greater success and prosperity can be and shall be yours, but there seems no evidence of it at present, that is the time to walk through the banks of your city, observing all the successful people who have plenty of money to work with. That is the time to visit lovely surroundings in beautiful new buildings and stores. Move through the richest sections of your city and countryside where the riches of God and man are in evidence. Associate with creative individuals of rich talent, such as artists and intellectuals, if that brings you an enriched feeling. If attending operas and concerts or visiting art galleries makes you feel rich, do so. It might be that listening to music recordings or hearing lectures on cultural subjects will inspire you. I find it helpful to read the success stories and autobiographies of famous people. When we realize the challenges which celebrated people have met and overcome, our own slack period seems slight by comparison, and we get a renewed feeling that we definitely can and shall succeed. During one difficult period in my life, I found that by taking art lessons and doing some painting, my discouragement was soon transformed into hope for a better future. I know of a lady who conquered despondency by working daily in her lovely rose garden. If it is the out-of-doors that gives you a feeling of richness, then enjoy more sunshine, fresh air, and the peacefulness of Mother Nature. Attendance at sports events can recharge your mental batteries. Active participation in sports such as golf, horseback riding, fishing, or swimming can help to relieve mental sluggishness. At other times, a long walk or ride in the country gives you the lift you need. A businessman recently wrote me that this had long been his method for overcoming discouragement. The beauty of antiques, interior decorating, preparation of exotic foods, or the creation of special clothes can add to your feeling of richness. At still another tense period in my life, I found great joy in working with a dressmaker toward the design and creation of my clothes, and turned my attention away from my present job dissatisfaction long enough for the problem to work out, and a change in jobs came. Perhaps reading the classics or the Bible or participation in certain quiet games will uplift you. Having quiet times to absorb new ideas is helpful. I like to read Sunday papers from all over the nation. Just by browsing through them, studying the ads showing beautiful clothes, faraway places, and reports of new books, art, and music, I derive a heightened sense of freedom and richness. It is never a waste of time to saturate your mind, body, and affairs in rich ideas, rich associations, rich atmospheres, and in any activity, inner or outer, which brings a feeling of richness to your inner being. Especially during those periods when it seems that success is slow in manifesting. Especially, make good use of your free time. In the course of your daily activities, you may not be free to saturate yourself with those things which make you feel rich. But in your off hours, you can surely find uplift in new diversions, although some free time should be devoted to additional study and self-improvement so that you can uncover greater job satisfaction. Years ago, when my life was burdened by limitation, the only way I could gain a sense of freedom and the vision of possible success was to slip away for a quiet, leisurely walk around the block toward the end of each day. Yet that simple act enabled me to hold on to my higher visions of good so that they were later able to manifest. This is a rich universe with countless ways to shower its blessings upon us when we keep our expectancy high. Daily remind yourself that your cup is really half full rather than half empty. Make the most of your present situation. Whether it is more satisfaction in your present work or another step up the ladder in your work, or whether it is a whole new career you desire or financial freedom from all organized work, in any event, your goal can be attained. You need not feel trapped by present conditions. There is always something you can do about it. A good statement to use in calling forth the right result, whether it would mean remaining in your present place or going on to another work, is this: Divine intelligence now works in me and my life and affairs, to will and to do whatever is for my highest good, and divine intelligence cannot fail. If you are convinced that your present work is not satisfying and cannot become so, set about changing the situation by declaring, I am now shown new ways of living and new methods of work. I am not confined to the ways and methods of the past. I experience my perfect work in the perfect way, which now renders me perfect satisfaction and perfect pay. Follow through on whatever ideas or events that present themselves to you for change. Stop thinking about or talking about present dissatisfaction. Forget it. Let it go. Then begin bringing about order, harmony, and beauty into your present job. If you are dissatisfied, set about doing everything possible to make your job more pleasant and orderly. Clean out file drawers, straighten up your desk, add a plant or something of beauty which you and others can view often for a quick lift. Give fellow workers the benefit of your spoken praise, sincere appreciation, words of kindness, as well as your silent prayers and blessings. Above all, remind yourself that you are a mental part of whatever situation in which you now find yourself. As you give any situation the benefit of your highest thoughts and actions, you help to establish order, harmony, and satisfaction for all concerned. When you make the best of your present situation, you can be assured that greater good will reveal itself. Meanwhile, as it is written, "Whatsoever thy hand findeth to do, do it with all thy might." In other words, as a friend of mine has often said, when you go through hell, make it pay with greater understanding than you previously had, and the result of good from that experience will be lasting. Free yourself of criticism. Dare to think, act, and react differently from those who are poverty-prone, unless you want to remain with them at the bottom of the ladder. There is plenty of room at the top in any line of work or profession for those who dare to free themselves of the usual thoughts of bickering, jealousies, and petty criticisms entertained by many people. When you are tempted to join in the chorus of such mass negative thought, declare instead, "There is no criticism in me, for me, or against me. The supreme law of good is now in charge of my life, and divine harmony now reigns supreme in me and in my world." This realization protects you from the negative thoughts of others. Give them in turn the blessing and protection of your constructive attitudes. Are you thinking, but is this worthwhile? Listen. The greatest knowledge which you can gain about yourself and your fellow beings is that one person thinking and acting constructively in any situation cannot fail to produce good results. All mankind is hungry for constructive attitudes, actions, and reactions, and quickly responds to them. I once observed this happen in a situation involving two junior members of a large law firm. Known for its belief in hard work and productive results, their firm was very prosperous, as were all of its members. One of the junior law firm members was a happy, optimistic, joyous individual. He did not hesitate to pay a compliment when it was due, or to show kindness and courtesy to everyone he met. No one was too insignificant to receive kind attention from him. This young man apparently did not know what it was to criticize, condemn, or complain. The other lawyer was actually better qualified for the work they were both doing. Because he held one more college degree than the first man, the law firm was paying him several $100s more per month. Thus, he had every advantage over the first man, or so one would suppose. But this high-paid lawyer was a quiet complainer, and nothing could please him. Details upset him, people upset him, an unexpected assignment upset him, everything upset him. Within a year, he was no longer employed by this firm. Within that same year, the other attorney had been promoted into his position and salary. Later, this junior partner became a full-fledged member of the firm. Never in the history of that firm had any lawyer been advanced so rapidly into responsibility or in financial compensation. Take a new lease on life. It has been said that work is the highest form of pay. Whether work is pleasant activity or laborious toil depends on your attitudes about yourself, others, and the world in general. Be assured that work is divine, and that your true work and your true compensation seek you as much as you seek them. Man's true work is that which he does best, and from which he derives deep satisfaction. Take a new lease on life right now, no matter what your life situation. Begin by boldly declaring, as did Charles Fillmore at the age of 93, "I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm, and spring forth with a mighty faith to do the things that ought to be done by me." Join countless others in getting into work or self-expression in some form that satisfies you by using this success formula. 1. As nearly as you can, form a mental picture of what you want your life to be like. 2. After forming a picture of what you desire, begin developing and living your desire mentally. Begin thinking of the desired results as though they were already obtained. You thereby take mental possession of your desired good and quicken its manifestation. 3. Ask divine intelligence to show you the next step towards attaining your desired picture of good. You will be shown, whether it means going to night school for more courses of study, making drastic changes in your work and way of life, or developing a more constructive attitude about your present job and its potential. As you are shown the next step, boldly follow it faith, knowing it can lead only to richer satisfaction. 4. Persist and persevere in knowing that congenial work can and shall be yours. Emerson has said that everything has a price, and if that price is not paid, then not that thing but something else is obtained. So persist in paying the price in inner and outer ways so that you shall have from life what you truly desire. 5. Continue giving your best in your present situation, even though you may be mentally living beyond it. And above all, keep your spirits high through the law of saturation. Truly, as you travel within these various ways, you cannot stand still without. Financial independence can be yours. Chapter 10. One of the desires of all prosperous-minded people is to be self-supporting and financially independent. Poverty is a universal fear of mankind, and many people today are experiencing financial lack, despite the unprecedented prosperity of our times. Once you learn the power which you release through prosperous thinking, it will dawn upon you that the possibility of financial independence isn't so far-fetched after all. You will realize that it isn't just meant for the other fellow, but that it is meant for you, too. The term financial independence does not necessarily mean the same thing to everyone. Basically, to be financially independent means to be financially free. To one person, financial independence might simply suggest a well-paying, dependable job through which he could consistently meet his financial obligations and feel free from daily financial demands. Another person might be thinking in millionaire terms. As you progress financially, your ideas of financial independence expand so that you wish greater and greater financial freedom. Thus, the desire to be self-supporting and financially independent is a divine desire that has been implanted in the intellectual and emotional nature of man to help him to progress, to achieve, and to build a worthwhile life for himself. The desire for financial independence, whether it be for a decent weekly income or for a millionaire status, is a divine desire that should not be suppressed, but expressed constructively through the mind of a man. When it is so expressed, man is then able to experience the satisfaction and fulfillment that God wants him to have. Don't accept things as they are. Perhaps one of the great secrets of attaining financial independence was shown us by the mayor of a New England town. Several years ago, a news story related the remarkable results of this man's first year as mayor. At the time he took office, everyone was saying, "This is a dying city and nobody can save it." And they had facts to prove it. Slums infested the downtown area, the city population was not growing, and business was leaving town. Prosperity seemed to be ancient history for this town. However, within a year, the new mayor had inspired his co-workers to adopt a bold program of cleaning up the city. A slum clearance project went to work to clean out downtown slums and make way for apartment houses, shopping areas, parking lots, new office buildings, and new business areas. How was this one man able to inspire so much progress and new prosperity so fast? He stated that the men on his city council were men who dared to think big, which got the ball rolling. The mayor also mentioned that each night he prayed for guidance. His basic attitude was this: I won't accept things as they are. Just because they've always been that way does not mean they can't be changed. Thus, dissatisfaction with present financial conditions is the first step toward attaining financial independence. If you can't settle for things as they are, good. You have the power through prosperous thought and action to change them into something far better and more satisfying. This is your key to financial independence if you dare to use it. I once observed an acquaintance go from an unpleasant job into his own business, which represented financial independence to him by boldly following through on divine dissatisfaction. This man had been employed since the World War in a jewelry store, but always in the back of his mind was the dream of owning his own store. Finally, disharmony and disorder arose where he was employed. After long and faithful service, he suddenly quit his job, although his employees assured him he would not be able to do as well elsewhere. This man silently reminded himself that he had no intention of doing as well elsewhere as an employee, but that he intended to become independent of bosses and other people's ideas, for he would be an employer himself. At the time this man quit his job, he had only a small amount of money saved. He also had a family and the usual financial responsibilities. Nevertheless, as soon as this man let go of the unsatisfactory financial situation, he began to feel better, more content, and freer somehow. Word soon got around. A friend who had a jewelry store in another town offered him a job until he could decide about permanent work. He took the job to assure some income while he quietly made long-range plans. A little later, still another business friend informed him that he was also dissatisfied with just being a salaried employee. He wanted to go into the jewelry business on a partnership basis. This man had a comfortable savings balance. Together, these two men were able to produce the financial assets and credit standing needed to go into their own financial venture. Neither of these men could have managed this financial venture alone, but together they were able to pool their resources, financial assets, talents, and abilities. They formed a partnership and opened their own jewelry store, which has since made them both prosperous. But the first man had to let go, refuse to accept an unsatisfactory business situation first, before the right doors opened. Emotions are your go power. Another secret of financial independence after we decide we will not settle for less than the best in life is the law of concentration and conservation. Conservation of thought, energy, and emotional drive are all greatly needed for financial independence. You have perhaps observed that some people seem to prosper for a period. Their businesses may even boom, but suddenly the bottom drops out, and they experience dire financial failure from which they seem unable to recover. In almost every instance, if you look closely, you will discover that those people's emotions, attitudes, and way of life become scattered, thus depleting them of their previous fine ability to prosper. Most men's business activities prosper as long as their personal lives succeed. But when marital difficulties arise, their businesses go on the rocks too. I recently talked with a brilliant man who has made several fortunes and lost them each time his home life disrupted, as his emotions became upset and scattered. We are all creatures of emotion and deep feeling, and our deep feelings can make us or break us financially. They are your God power and your go power. You should guard them as you would a gold mine, because your emotions are in reality the richest gold mine you will ever own. Scattered thinking, scattered emotions, scattered actions lead to a scattering of your mind power. This in turn depletes your physical energy that is essential for prosperity. It depletes your brain energy that is needed for an intelligent course of action or plan for prosperity. It saps your emotional drive that is needed to put your prosperity plans to work. Dare to be different. Conservation of thought, energy, and emotional drive are all necessary for financial independence. In other words, in order to become permanently prosperous, you must dare to be different. At least for a while. It was General Maxwell D. Taylor, the famous leader who parachuted into Normandy on D-Day, who once said that the time for daring is the moment when the stakes are high. He reminded us that we must be willing to risk much in order to win much, that indeed we must be willing to put all to the test. But understand, this doesn't lead to a dull life of withdrawal from the world. Instead, it leads to a joyous, satisfying life filled with congenial associations and rich experiences, a life free from non-essential activities. When you decide to become financially independent, you immediately make up your mind to cease caring what people think and to dare to concentrate on your goal. As you become more prosperous, you will not care what your previous associates think anyway, because you will doubtless be forming new, more satisfying, and more congenial relationships in keeping with your expanding vision. Think big. The most successful people think big, not limiting themselves or their associates to their ideas and opinions. If you desire to be free of a lot of limited thoughts and petty opinions, begin to think big. Concentrate on financial independence, and you will lose the petty thinkers along the way. You will also cultivate enduring, satisfying friends who will help you up the ladder of success. I once met a quiet little lady who is now president of a large housing project, an apartment project, and a huge suburban shopping center. 20 years ago, the site now occupied by these homes, apartments, and stores was just a large pasture located about a mile from the nearest highway and 5 miles from the nearest town. But this little lady had a dream about her property. 20 years ago, this had seemed a rather foolish dream. She kept building the vision in her mind that one day her land would house one of the most beautiful suburban shopping centers in the country. She just quietly and boldly held that vision in mind, impossible though it seemed. Of course, such a fulfilled dream would automatically make her financially independent. In a few years, a nearby military base was enlarged. As a result, one of the increased traffic from the military base to the nearest town, a new 4-lane highway was built. It happened that this 4-lane highway bordered on this lady's pasture. Almost immediately, real estate agents by the dozens began making this lady offers for the sale of her land, but she refused to sell. From a practical standpoint, it might have seemed the thing to do, because the land was still undeveloped and as such, almost worthless. Unlike the realtors who wanted to buy, she had not the money nor the financial assets necessary to develop her land. But still she had her dream, and she courageously held that vision of prosperous financial independence. The years passed, the nearby town grew and grew. One day this lady noticed a contractor with his equipment and men on the property adjoining hers. Soon she was introduced to this contractor, and they became friends. They talked all about her property and its possibilities for development. She related her dream of owning a beautiful shopping center where the townspeople and the military personnel could shop with ease without having to get involved in downtown traffic. This contractor was quite impressed by her dream. He explained to her that it was quite possible for her dream to come true without her having to sell any part of her beloved land, which was still used as a pasture. He pointed out the possibilities for the formation of a corporation in which she would furnish the land while he would furnish the services of his contracting company, equipment, personnel for building and supervising the work. He advised that he had a millionaire contractor friend who would be willing to furnish the necessary cash and collateral until the building was completed and could be approved for long-term financing. In due time, they formed a corporation. Upon the advice of her 2 corporation partners, they first built an apartment project to relieve the critical housing shortage that had occurred in that area. Later, they built homes for rental and sale. Still later, they built a beautiful colonial-style shopping center that includes everything from a dime store to a drive-in bank. Thus, this woman's lowly pasture land provided for the needs of hundreds of people occupying apartments and homes. Her huge shopping center is considered one of the most beautiful in the South, all because she quietly and boldly held to a large image of success, prosperity, and financial independence until others of like mind came along to help her make it come true. Dust off your dreams. If you have unfulfilled dreams and visions of greater prosperity and success tucked in a corner of your mind, don't keep them there any longer. Dare to bring them out and dust them off. Dare to begin thinking of the possibilities of financial independence, even if, at this point, they seem impossible of fulfillment. Should that old defeating element of fear try to whisper that there's no possible way for your dreams of financial independence to come true, remind yourself of the rich biblical promises. Often you may not have succeeded because you felt that somehow you had to succeed alone, and the thought overwhelmed you. It seemed easier to settle for failure. But as a very successful engineer said to me recently when I asked him what his success secret was, I was never successful until I went into partnership. God is my partner and the best one I have ever had. His guidance about my financial affairs never leads me anywhere but to greater prosperity. I begin and end my day by asking for, listening for, and expecting specific guidance about all my engineering projects, and that guidance always comes. Recently, when the president of one of this country's leading corporations said to me, "How do you do it? How do you manage to do all that you do and never become ruffled or upset in the midst of such great demands and expectations?" He seemed rather amazed at my answer. That it's simple. God is my partner, and I leave all the stress, strain, and hard decisions to Him. The man answered, "You mean it really works to do such a thing? That it's practical to trust God in such large financial matters?" My reply was, "Look, if you can't trust God, who is all intelligence, has all power, and who runs this rich universe, just whom can you trust?" Truly, God opens ways to where human sense there seems to be no way. Grasp this truth and hold fast to it. Businesses have been saved, fortunes built, discoveries made, inventions perfected, and the dead restored to life after the sentence of defeat has been passed by humanity. Thank God that His goodness does not stop at the limits of our human vision. Keep steady, keep your faith, keep your courage. Remember that God opens ways where to human sense there is no way. Visualize financial independence. In other words, you need not undertake the fulfillment of any desire alone. You have the promise, "Ask, and it shall be given to you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. For everyone that asketh receiveth, and he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened." Most folks overlook this as a prosperity secret. Often they let riches pass them by just because they do not ask the help of a higher power to learn how to attain their good. Begin now to visualize yourself not as just becoming more prosperous, but as becoming financially independent. Emma Curtis Hopkins has written, "Whatever is oftenest viewed with the inner eye reveals its secrets and hands out its gifts." It is a delightful process and very stimulating to the mind. And it really is not daydreaming if you dare to get definite in your thinking. Mrs. Hopkins has further pointed out, success lies in being one-pointed and in rejecting all that distracts from one's victorious objective. Why be mildly prosperous when, by being mentally one-pointed, you can be completely free from financial care, so that you will have time and money to develop other phases of your being that can be a credit to you and to all mankind? A Texas oil man once made a fortune in a way no one expected. He went into oil fields that had already been drilled for oil and began drilling deeper. He made a fortune in oil that no one believed was there. In the realm of prosperous thinking, you can too. You are actually equipped to master life in its every phase. You do not have to compromise in life if you are willing to let go of the idea of compromise. By ceasing needless activities, associations, and relationships, by ceasing to be bothered with needless chatter with scatter-minded people, you will find that financial independence is right around the corner, much nearer than you previously assumed. Conserve your time and energy. Begin to discipline yourself more. Conserve your time and energy. Associate only with other prosperous-minded people with whom you have compatible interests. As soon as you turn from all that is unproductive or unrelated to your high vision of prosperity, as you cease trying to please others and dare to please the still small voice of progress within your own heart, you are well on the way to financial independence. Many people want to become financially independent, but they never make the grade because they refuse to discipline themselves and their way of life, even for a time. It may seem an extreme idea to you that you must concentrate on prosperity to exclusion of all else, that you should discard negative, failure-minded business associates, that you should begin fearlessly to weed out all undesirable relationships, that you should be careful with whom and how you spend your time, even your leisure time. Once you decide to try this method, you will discover that it is as though you are breaking a hard shell of limited thought, feeling, and activity. When you get past that point, you can begin enjoying a more balanced way of life again. But there is that transition period of having a one-track mind that thinks only of success and prosperity, after which you find yourself in a much higher financial bracket. You will discover a new zest in life, and you will be able to relax and really have fun because you have earned it. But unless you can serve and concentrate prior to that point, you'll never attain it. The truth of this was recently brought to my attention by a news story reporting that a young man who is still less than 30 years of age has become vice president of an insurance company. This young man decided several years ago on an objective, and he quietly started working toward it through prosperous thinking. He spent all his spare time reading books on success, associating only with others of like mind. For a period, his wife felt that perhaps he was restricting himself from social affairs, which they both had enjoyed in the past. But when he explained to her why he was devoting his time to concentration upon his present and future success, she was willing to forego most social events that were time-consuming. After several years of hard work and study, this young man has reached such heights that he and his wife can again lead a more social life. Now they can truly afford the enjoyable contacts with prosperous-minded people who are their new friends. Assume your financial independence now. A good way to begin cultivating the expectation of financial independence and the happy experiences it can bring is by beginning to be financially independent for the day, week, or month now before you. It is always easier for the mind to produce results that are expected in the present or immediate future. For instance, begin your day the prosperity way by affirming lavish abundance for that day, even before rising. Put prosperous thinking first, as well as last, in your day. As you awaken each morning and emotionally prepare to meet the new day, either before rising or with your morning coffee, prepare yourself by writing out, verbally affirming, or silently declaring a number of times, I expect lavish abundance every day in every way in my life and affairs. I specifically expect and give thanks for lavish abundance today. In this way, you are sending prosperous thinking before you to prepare a delightful, satisfying, and worthwhile day that will run to meet you hour by hour with its delightful surprises and satisfactions. As you daily develop a state of mind that believes in, expects, and experiences financial independence one day at a time, your state of mind then automatically expands, so that financial independence becomes a weekly, monthly, yearly habit. But you must start sometime in your thinking, and the daily basis is the easiest, most immediate, and most satisfying, because it gives you proof positive that your prosperity is at hand, awaiting your recognition and acceptance of it. A businessman recently told me that his business doubled after he began to concentrate his attention on the thought and expectancy of financial independence, rather than on the thought of how hard he had to work and how useless it all seemed. A young insurance executive, he discovered that thinking of and expecting lavish abundance for one day at a time was a great secret toward financial independence. Several years ago, he began spending an hour each morning mentally planning his day as he wished it to be. He held in mind figures of sales he wished to obtain. Later, when he was named supervisor of a group of insurance salesmen, he spent time each morning thinking of them and the amount of sales he wished them to make for the day. It was by this daily process of thinking of lavish abundance for himself and his salesmen that he worked his way up to an executive capacity in his company. You can overcome serious obstacles. In order to become financially independent to the extent of having a constant financial income, it is necessary to discard a number of negative attitudes. Most people can tell you in a hurry all the reasons why they cannot succeed. Yet as we look about us, we are surprised at how often the people who succeed seem to have obstacles to overcome. There is a lady who is a polio victim who goes to her work as a private secretary in a wheelchair every day. To all appearances, she should have given up years ago when she was stricken with paralysis. But she was rehabilitated and now drives her own car. She has an interesting, worthwhile job. Through her attitude of refusing to give in to disease, she has become independent of the sickbed and makes her own way financially as well. The last time I heard from her, she was also thinking of getting married. One spring day several years ago, a young store clerk talked with me about how discouraged and uncertain he was about his future. I asked him what he really wanted to do, and he shyly replied, as though he had never dared to talk about it, "I would like to attend college so that I may teach." I suggested to him that through the power of prosperous thinking, all things are possible. I further suggested that he consider becoming independent, that he should positively work toward getting further education, that he should not settle for a clerk's job if he really wished to become a teacher. He agreed to begin visualizing himself as attending college in the fall, and to constantly think of lavish abundance becoming visible to meet his every need. At the suggestion that he make plans as though he would attend college in the fall, he immediately registered at the college he wished to attend. He studied carefully the college catalog, selecting the subjects he wished to take and memorizing everything in that catalog about the college, its history, curriculum, faculty, and other features. As he continued to envision himself as free from what he did not want to do, and as being active in what he wished to do, an interesting thing happened. In midsummer, a relative came to him and explained that for some time he had observed him, and felt that his potential was much greater than his present work allowed. This relative then offered to make financial arrangements for this young man to attend college that fall. With great joy, this young man then confided all his hopes and dreams to the relative, who was happy to learn of his foresight. Recently, the young man informed me that he will receive his degree within a few months. All this came about because he dared to become independent in his thinking and to vision great good as possible for him. Techniques for becoming financially independent. Begin now to mentally accept the vision of financial independence for yourself and those you hold dear by filling your mind with pictures of the life you would like to lead, rather than being hypnotized by the life you seem to be leading at the moment. But keep your high visions of financial independence to yourself. Start doing whatever little or big thing you can to help your high vision come true. Let me share with you a simple, practical technique for helping you begin today to become more prosperous. If you keep up the practice of this one simple technique, it will lead to greater prosperity, and it can surely lead to financial independence as well. It is this. The ancients believed the number 10 had a magical power of increase. Thus, beginning right now, whenever you think about money, whether it be income, outgo, the amount in your checking account, the amount in your wallet, the amount in your savings or investments, begin mentally increasing your supply by thinking of 10 times that amount coming to you. This is a delightful and fascinating technique for increasing your money. For instance, look in your wallet. Suppose there is $5 there. Look at it and declare, "I give thanks that this $5 is but a symbol of the inexhaustible substance of the universe. I give thanks that 10 times this much, or $500, is now on its way to me and quickly manifests to meet every demand." In like manner, when the bills begin flowing in around the first of the month, do not think, "This bill of $20 is much too high this month. We simply must cut down on expenses." Change the thought to, $20 is but a symbol of the rich substance of the universe that is now available to me. I give thanks that 10 times this much, or $200, is now on its way to me, and it quickly appears, so that every financial obligation is immediately and completely met with the rich substance of the universe. After multiplying your money by 10 mentally, if there is a financial need, it is good to go ahead sending forth whatever substance is on hand to meet it. That opens the way for the multiplied amounts to begin flowing in. The outflow makes way for the inflow. With every financial transaction that presents itself to you, multiply it by 10, giving thanks that 10 times that much is coming to you for your private use. It is the quickest, surest, most delightful way to get your PhD in prosperous thinking. A saleswoman who heard about this prosperous principle decided to immediately put it to work. The night she heard it explained, she had $1 in her pocket. She took it out, looked at it, and thought, 10 times this much is immediately coming to me. $10 now manifests. She then gave the $1 as an offering at the close of the lecture. The next day, she continued multiplying the total figure of every sale she made by 10. The result was that she sold more during that one day than did all the employees on 2 other floors of the same store. That night, when she arrived home, there were 2 $5 checks which had arrived in the mail. They were gifts that were totally unexpected. Thus, her dollar had produced $10 for her, and her selling power had mushroomed that day through her use of the magic number 10. You can take the same idea even further once you get it fully established in your mind and working for you. A doctor who heard this principle exclaimed, although quietly, "Why should I settle for the multiplying power of 10? Why wouldn't the number 100, which is 10 times 10, be even more powerful in multiplying power?" And so he decided to test it out. He, too, gave a $1 love offering at the conclusion of a lecture he heard on this subject, thinking, "I am giving," thereby invoking the law of receiving. I expect to receive 100 times this amount, or $100. I give thanks that it appears in perfect ways. The next afternoon, a woman walked into his office, handed him a check, and said, "I do not owe you any money because I have not needed treatment from you recently. However, I am greatly impressed with the help you have been able to give several members of my family recently. They have been completely restored to health through your treatment. In appreciation, I would like to share a portion of some money that recently came to me unexpectedly." The check she gave him was for $100. A housewife, upon hearing of the multiplying power of 10, thought as did the doctor, and decided to multiply the dollar in her pocketbook by 100 instead of 10. Within 2 days, she received a check for $100 from a business associate who had long been owing her the money. What freedom this one simple technique gives you from the thought of lack, poverty, and not enough. It completely changes your attitude, too. This is a rich universe, and there's plenty for you and for me. Further aids in establishing financial independence. Along with multiplying every financial figure by 10 or by 10 times 10, I suggest that you do a number of other things to aid in establishing your vision of financial independence. Begin now filling your mind with pictures of the life you would like to lead when you are financially able. Study newspapers and magazines carrying luxurious advertisements of the clothes, the homes, the hobbies, and other things in life which you wish to have and experience. Build your inner mental pictures of your life free from financial worry, free for travel, hobbies, worthwhile accomplishments, and congenial associations. As for the talents and abilities you would like to develop, begin studying books and filling your mind with the pictures of fulfillment along that line. Think of the organizations you would like to help and the good you would like your riches to accomplish. Build the mental picture of financial independence also for your loved ones in your own thinking. Mentally behold the whole world financially independent. Free yourself and begin to free mass thought that all is less than rich financial independence. Millions of people all over the world are slaves to war, crime, delinquency, ill health, and the godlessness of communism because they ignorantly believe that their wealth lies outside themselves, leaving them wholly dependent upon others. Dissolve this ignorant, destructive, hypnotic belief for others as well as for yourself by daring to accept the glorious truth that financial independence is one of the God-given rights of all mankind, which you can help to bring forth by your own attitudes, actions, and reactions. You should also begin building your expectancy and faith in financial independence by studying the subject of finance, economics, and investments. You should also literally pray for financial independence. Realize in your thinking that you are not bound to the wheel of work, day in and day out. You are not a servant to riches, but a radiant son of the God of universal abundance. Your 10 lucky steps. To help you gain financial independence on a steady basis, I wish to share with you the following formula, which I like to call the 10 lucky steps to prosperous thinking and financial independence. 1. Get quiet, meditate, and ask your loving Father if there is any reason why you should not become financially independent. This act will remove all uncertainty from your mind, for it is uncertainty that delays your success. 2. Having decided to achieve financial independence and having gotten a sense of peace about the rightness of it for you, make a mental picture of the highest degree of it that you wish to experience. Mentally image the amount of income you wish and how you will live when you are independent. Build as detailed a mental picture of financial independence as possible. The more you think about it, the more detailed your mental picture will become.